Hi there, we're back, and today we're going to talk about the character panel. We have seen already the character panel before when we were modifying the text with the property panel, right here. Today we're going to go in details on all the options of the character panel. Just before we start the character panel, let's just make a spelling correction here. This is not hot, this is supposed to be how, so double click on the word and how to get people to watch your IG live. Sorry guys for the mistake, but anyway, let's just go. That being said, let's save the file and go to the artboard number 2. Let's delete these, we don't need it anymore. And let's talk about the character panel. So let's write something here, a lorem ipsum with the text tool, and the character panel shows up when you have a text selected right here on the properties. And you can also access the character panel by going to character in the control bar. Really easy, click once and you can see the character panel. You can also access the character panel by going to window, type, and character. All of the text related panels are inside the option type. And we have here the character panel. And the first thing I want you to do, I want you to go to the advanced menu for the character panel, which is here on these 3 lines. Click once and click on show option. There you go, and you have all of the options for the character panel. You can do that here as well. Just click on the 3 dots and you get all of the same options. Isn't that cool? Now, the first option that you have is the fonts. So you can change the font to any of the fonts that you want. The first thing that I recommended you to do was to clear all, so you don't have any filters, and then go and find out which fonts you're interested in. Below the character panel, we have the styles of the fonts available. Depending on the fonts, you may have different types of style. In this case, I can have a Roman style, extra light, light, regular, semi-bold, bold, and black. Each one of these are different types of fonts related to the source series variable. It's just a different style. Below this checkbox, you have the size of the font. The size of the font you can change with the combo box or with the up arrow and down arrow. If you hold shift here, you will increase 10 by 10. Another good tip to increase and decrease the size of the fonts is using Ctrl, Shift, and dot, or Ctrl, Shift, and comma. If you press Ctrl, Shift, comma, it reduces the size by 2, and if you press Ctrl, Shift, and dot, it will increase the size by 2. If you're on the Mac, just remember, it's Command, Shift, and comma, or Command, Shift, and dot. Also, in the character panel, you can choose to show font height options, which includes more options as well. And you can also choose to show the touch type tool. We're going to talk about this later on the course. On the right side of the font size, you have the font leading, which is this option here. To teach you leading, I have to change a little bit the text. So let's just double click on the text, put a space in here and selection 2 again. And let's say I want to separate the space even more from the first line to the second line. All I have to do is go to the leading option and I can set the leading higher or lower. Depending on what you choose, it will increase or decrease the space between the lines. As you can see, by default, we have an option here for auto leading. Okay, so you can leave it at auto leading or you can choose a specific size for leading. The auto leading depends on the size of the fonts. So for example, if I change the size of the font to 150, auto leading will change automatically as well. Our next combo box is the kerning, which is this one here. The kerning is about character spacing. To explain kerning, let's select another font first. So I'm going to select a basic font Mirror Pro, for example. As you can see, between each character, there's a specific space. With the kerning option, I can configure a specific spacing between each character. If I double-click between letter E and letter M, I can reduce or increase the kerning. And if I reduce a lot, it will reduce the space. I can hold Shift and increase or decrease the space between the words. When you use kerning, it means you're reducing just a specific space or increasing just a specific space between two letters. If you want to reduce or increase all of the characters, then you would have to use the tracking, which is this option here. You can increase the tracking and decrease the tracking. As you can see, it increases and decreases all of the spaces between each letter. The tracking and deleting are both a horizontal way of creating a space between the letters. In the same way that you can increase this space horizontally, you can also increase the letters vertically. For that, all you have to do is just select one letter and increase it and decrease the size of the letter with the vertical scale. You can also increase the letter as a whole using the horizontal scale as well. Below these two options, we have the baseline shift. Well, to explain the baseline, let's just remember that when we select each word, we have an invisible line here, okay? So in each of these words, I have an invisible line. Let's activate the ruler. Does anyone remember how you do that? You go to View and Ruler, or you can use Ctrl R. If you're on a Mac, it would be Command R. When we have the rulers, we can create a guideline. Click and hold. You can just place the guideline here just for you to see the difference. So we have one guideline for this baseline, and I'm going to build another guideline for the other baseline, so I can explain to you how this option here works. With this option, I can select just one letter and change the baseline. So I can increase and decrease the baseline. So although this word has this specific baseline, which I'm using the guideline to indicate it to you, the letter M doesn't have that baseline anymore. It has this baseline plus 30 points. I can reduce it as well, so the baseline can go below. Aside from changing the baseline, as you can see, the letter M has changed the baseline. You can also rotate a specific letter. For example, let's select the other letter M. You can change and rotate the letters with the character panel. Isn't that cool? Aside from that, you can also do lots of other things. For example, I'm going to create another word with 50. There you go. And just remember that when you create another word, you will be using the same options that you used for the last time. Therefore, the word lorem ipsum has just a small rotation, which was the same rotation that I did with letter M. And let's just put this to 0. Okay, and select selection tool. And continue in the character panel, you can choose the option all caps to change how it's written. All of them are in caps lock. And you can change them again to small caps, and all of them are changed again back to the way it was. You can also select a specific letter and use this option here, the superscript, to put it up, or the subscript to put it down, or underline it. Let me underline something else, or underline everything, or strike through, and then you have a line cutting all of the words. If you made a specific change in the character panel, you can also reset the character panel by going to Option and Reset Panel. And there you go. I have resetted it. So all of the changes that I did doesn't take any more effect to this specific word, okay? So if I want to reset this part here, I have to select this text and then reset the panel. And the word is now here. And if I select all of the both words, I can reset them both as well. And there you go. I'm going to change it to 100. To me, the option reset panel was always confusing because if you reset the panel before you start typing, it's one thing, but if you reset the panel with a text selected, it's just another thing. So for example, let's say I have this text selected and I'm going to make a rotation of 30. And there you go. And let's say I just want to make a new text. So I've clicked on the type tool and I'm going to start a new text. But I don't want the text to have the same configuration that I used for the last time. So before creating a text, you'd go to menu and reset panel and then start typing. And there you go. And let's change it again to 100 and OK. So this is it. We have seen most of the functions in the character panel. I hope you enjoyed this class. And in the next class, we're going to talk about the paragraph panel. Okay? I'll see you on the next class.